The Dallas Cowboys already made their big trade offer this year, and the price attached to it should stop you cold. A first-round pick, a second-round pick, sent for one player and turned down anyway. Jerry Jones was asked about walking away from that deal at the opening press conference of training camp, and he cut the question off before it finished. That answer is why this camp feels different from the last two. There is also a rookie on this defense who has already changed the way Brian Schottenheimer talks about the entire linebacker room. Start with the number that anchors everything. Dallas allowed 511 points in 2025. That is a franchise record, and it was the worst mark in the NFL. The offense was never the problem. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens helped produce 6,663 total yards, the second highest figure in football, and Javonte Williams carried the run game behind them. The season still ended 7-9-1 with no playoff game and no January football. So the front office spent the entire offseason attacking one side of the ball, and the biggest swing they took never actually landed. That defense now belongs to Christian Parker, hired in January at 34 years old, the youngest defensive coordinator in franchise history. He came from Philadelphia, carrying a Super Bowl ring and a reputation built on developing defensive backs under Vic Fangio. Rashawn Gary arrived from Green Bay. Caleb Downs arrived at pick 11. Quinnen Williams finally gets a full offseason inside this building instead of a mid-season parachute drop. And the loudest question in the NFC East is whether any of it is enough to take the division from a team that has now won it twice in a row. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Cowboys and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. Look closely at the record first, because 7-9-1 is one of the most misleading numbers in recent Cowboys history. That record describes one football team. The roster contained two. The offense finished second in the NFL in total yards and seventh in points, scored with 471 on the year. Prescott spread the ball to two legitimate number one receivers, and Pickens set career highs across the board in his first season in Dallas with 93 catches, 1,429 yards, and 9 touchdowns. That is a playoff caliber operation by almost any measure you want to apply. Now, the other half of the roster. Dallas surrendered 30.1 points per game, dead last in the league by a comfortable margin. They ranked 30th in total yards allowed at 377.0 per game. They were last in pass defense, 31st in red zone defense, and 30th in both third down defense and takeaways generated. Run defense was the lone respectable category at 20th. 9 separate times, the Cowboys allowed 30 or more points in a single game. No amount of offensive production survives that kind of weekly arithmetic over 17 weeks. Run the counterfactual, and the frustration inside that building makes sense. Hold opponents to 23 points a game instead of 30.1. And Dallas gives up roughly 391 points instead of 511. That is a 120-point swing across a season, and it flips a negative point differential into a comfortably positive one. To be fair, points allowed is a blunt tool, and it punishes a defense for short fields the offense occasionally handed over. Even with that caveat, applied honestly, no reasonable reading of 2025 puts the blame anywhere except the defensive side of the ball. Understanding how it got that bad requires going back to the week before the season started. Dallas traded Micah Parsons to Green Bay, and the return brought back defensive tackle Kenny Clark, plus 2 first-round picks. Trading a premier pass rusher days before Week 1 left a first-year defensive coordinator holding a plan built around a player who no longer existed on the roster. The pressure numbers collapsed almost immediately. Opposing quarterbacks got comfortable against Dallas in a way they had not been in years, and every coverage weakness behind the front got magnified. Matt Eberflus inherited that mess and never solved it. He installed a zone-heavy coverage system for a secondary that had spent years playing high rates of man coverage under Dan Quinn and Mike Zimmer, and the transition never took hold. Dallas started the year as the worst total defense in football, and the ranking barely moved from September to January. The season ended with a 34-17 loss at the Giants, and Eberflus was fired days later after a single season in charge. He became the third defensive coordinator dismissed in 3 years. The one genuinely aggressive move came at the trade deadline. Dallas sent defensive tackle Mazi Smith, a 2026 second-round pick, and a 2027 first-round pick to the Jets for Quinnen Williams. He played 7 games as a Cowboy, opened with a sack and a half against the Raiders, and still earned his 4th career Pro Bowl selection. The trade did not save that season. It was never going to save that season. What it did was hand the next coordinator a legitimate interior anchor to build an entire front around. That next coordinator is where the actual rebuild starts. Christian Parker spent 2024 and 2025 as passing game coordinator and defensive backs coach in Philadelphia, and before that, 3 seasons coaching the Denver secondary. Patrick Surtain, Quinion Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean all reached All-Pro level while working under him. Dallas interviewed several outside candidates before landing on him, which is a real departure from how this organization has historically handled coordinator hires. He is moving the Cowboys toward an odd front with walk-down linebackers and heavy pre-snap movement up front. The pass rush got the most money and the most attention. Dallas acquired Rashawn Gary from Green Bay in March for a 2027 4th-round pick, which is remarkable value for a player with 46.5 career sacks across 106 games. Gary posted 7.5 sacks and 45 tackles in 2025 and made the Pro Bowl the year before that. He joins Donovan Ezirawaku, who was fully cleared after off-season hip surgery, plus James Houston and Sam Williams. None of them replaces what Parsons did by himself. Together, they might replace what he produced on the stat sheet. The secondary changed just as dramatically. Jalen Thompson signed a 3-year deal worth up to $33 million after 87 career starts in Arizona. Kobe Durant came over at corner in free agency. Darren Bland is back on the practice field after landing on injured reserve in December with a foot problem. And DeMarvion Overshown confirmed he is wearing the green dot as the Mike linebacker, entering the final year of his rookie contract with a clear stance on what that means. His words were direct. Contract, year or not, I have to come out here and play my best. Move to the draft, because this is where the plan gets specific. Dallas traded up 1 spot with Miami, sending pick 12 and 2 5th-round picks to take Ohio State safety Caleb Downs at number 11 overall. Downs graded out as the highest-rated prospect in the entire class by several public models. Schottenheimer has already said Downs will begin his career at nickel, and on day 1 of camp, he lined up across multiple alignments and got in on a turnover. For a unit that finished last against the pass, that versatility is the entire point. Then Dallas did something unusual with the second first-round pick acquired in the Parsons deal. They traded back 3 spots with Philadelphia, collected 2 additional 4th-round picks, and still landed the edge rusher they wanted in UCF pass rusher Malachi Lawrence at 23. Picking up extra draft capital while still getting your target is the kind of quiet organizational win that rarely shows up in a highlight package. Lawrence climbed the Dallas board steadily through the spring as more of the personnel department got their own eyes on his tape, which brings back the rookie from the opening. Jyshawn Barham was the 92nd pick, taken with the 3rd rounder Dallas received in the Osa Odigizua trade. At Michigan, he moved to boundary edge in week 3 of 2025 and finished with 10 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, and 21 pressures across 12 games. He has been the most discussed defender in Oxnard through 2 practices, even in helmets and shorts. Schottenheimer put it plainly, we love the versatility of him to be on and off the ball. 4th rounder, Drew Shelton has drawn similar praise at tackle. Now the division, and this is where optimism meets a very hard ceiling. Philadelphia won the NFC East at 11-6, and became the first repeat champion in the division since 2004. They just made Jalen Carter the highest paid defensive tackle in NFL history at $38 million per year. 4 years and $152 million total, with $106 million fully guaranteed. They also traded away A.J. Brown, which is the first genuine crack in that roster in several years, and they added Jonathan Greenard to an already loaded defensive front. Washington finished 5-12 after Jaden Daniels was limited to 7 games with injuries, and everything about their 2026 season depends on whether he stays upright for a full year. The Giants are the strange one to project. They finished near the bottom of the conference, but rookies Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo beat Philadelphia 34-17 on Thursday Night Football in October, which tells you the floor is not nearly as low as the final record suggests. Both of those teams got measurably better on paper this offseason. The betting market sees the hierarchy clearly. DraftKings has Philadelphia at plus 115 to win the division, Dallas at plus 235, Washington at plus 460, and the Giants at plus 600. Dallas is the closest challenger, and nobody else is particularly close to Dallas. The schedule opens on the road against the Giants on Sunday Night Football, and Philadelphia comes to Arlington on Thanksgiving for the first time since 2014. 2 of the 4 biggest games on the entire calendar arrive with the division race already hanging in the balance. Here's the part almost nobody covered properly. Dallas made 3 separate offers for Max Crosby back in March. The final one was the 20th overall pick in the 2026 draft, plus a 2027 second-round pick. Las Vegas wanted 2 first-round picks, and only Baltimore was willing to pay that price. The Ravens agreed to it, then backed out after Crosby failed a physical connected to January meniscus surgery on his left knee. Crosby went back to Las Vegas, reported to training camp fully cleared, and is preparing for his 8th NFL season. The detail that matters most is the one connecting directly to Oxnard. Cowboys. Team Dr. Dan Cooper was invited by Baltimore to help examine Crosby during that failed trade. Dallas, therefore, has first-hand knowledge of that knee that almost no other franchise possesses. So when reporters at camp noticed Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones pulling Cooper aside for a long conversation after practice this week, it landed very differently than a routine injury update. Jones had already been asked whether Dallas walked away from Crosby, and his answer was flat. We did not walk away. There's a second name in play, and it is the one nobody expected. Brian Broaddus, the former Cowboys scout, told 105.3, The Fan, that Dallas is aiming higher than a veteran free agent signing. I think they're going for a bigger fish, he said, pointing directly toward Miami. That means Jordan Brooks, who led the NFL with 183 total tackles in 2025 and made first-team All-Pro before signing a 3-year extension worth $51.3 million in July. The counterweight is worth saying out loud, though. Ian Rappaport reported in June that Arizona is not trading Josh Sweat, and reports like that have a way of being right. Teams talk far more often than they trade. So what does all of it actually add up to? The offense returns essentially intact from a unit that finished second in the league in yards. The defense added a legitimate coordinator, a real edge rusher, an elite safety prospect, and an interior anchor with a full offseason of continuity. The floor is clearly higher than 7-9-1. The ceiling depends entirely on whether Overshone plays 17 games for the first time in his career, and whether Parker proves he can call a game as well as he teaches one. Dallas has been linked to Crosby, Sweat, Brooks, and Bobby Wagner in 2 months, and completed none of it. Here's the prediction. Dallas finishes 10-7, reaches the postseason, and the defense climbs from 32nd in points allowed to somewhere inside the top 18. That is not a championship claim, and it is not meant to be one. It is the honest version, and honest is more useful than loud in early August. The Cowboys do not need a top 5 defense to win this division. They need a merely average one, because the offense already handles everything else on its own. The roster you're watching in Oxnard is probably very close to the roster that opens the season in September, and that alone should be enough for a wild card berth. The debatable part is this: Dallas beats Philadelphia at least once this season, and the Thanksgiving game in Arlington is the one they take. Camp reps in helmets and shorts prove very little about September, so hold every early read loosely, including this one. Drop your record prediction in the comments. Tell us whether you would give up a first-round pick for Crosby right now, and subscribe so the next breakdown finds you first. Because the trade deadline is still months away, and everything happening in Oxnard suggests this front office is nowhere close to finished shopping.